I'm sick of like being discriminated against because of my name. It's like,
Well,
I know I've got a
at
cool
least-
name, but why
yeah.
should I have to pay $60 for just a domain?
Change your name.
So did those guys really name their app after a meme? Huh? Buckle up, fellow kids. It's time for FounderQuest.
I think mine was like, for what it's worth, Star, my name was like $180.
So do y'all think the dev domains are going to be like Pogs?
Maybe.
Like Beanie
Like-
Babies?
like Garbage Pail Kids.
Oh, no. Garbage Pail Kids are a classic.
Yeah.
I just mean like when we started Honey Badger, we did an IO domain, and back then those were pretty hip. And so
Right.
in 10 years, are dev domains going to be kind of right now? People are like, oh, an IO domain. Well, are dev domains going to be like that in 10 years? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe the app domains, the .app.
Dot
Those are
app.
pretty cool.
I kind of think dev is, well, I mean, it's going to be used for a lot of things, but I think one thing that it'll be popular for is like GitHub projects and that sort of thing. Like I said, like faker.dev would be cool to like forward to your Faker project.
Would be cool. I'm just not going to
But-
pay $115 for it.
Right. Yeah. And
No.
who bought honeybadger.dev? I am like dying to know this because I thought it was one of you guys because I was going to do it and I forgot. I think someone's messing with us.
We'll find out someday.
So I thought like this week we could talk about just productivity. You know, some people are really surprised when they hear that I was going to say we're a 3-person company. We just hired another developer. We hired a
Yeah.
marketing person a few months back.
Yeah.
But we're still a very small company. So people are interested sort of like, how do we do it? I mean, we must be super productive. We must all be super productive, including me, despite the evidence. Despite the soul crushing evidence. So what's our secret?
I think the secret to our success is that I wake up naturally at 4 a.m. every morning.
That's it. Yeah.
Yes.
I do too, but I fight it, Ben, so hard.
I don't think we have a secret to success. We're just, just regular folk doing some regular stuff.
I do have to say, like, I've been a lot less productive, I felt, since having kids, especially the second kid. But
yeah, well, my secret reason for choosing this topic actually was that this week and the previous week I've been incredibly unproductive, and so I'm really just trying to get my groove back on.
Just
I'm really
looking for tips.
I'm looking for tips, guys. Yeah,
I had the same thought actually when you suggested it. I was thinking about it last night, and I was like, I'm actually looking forward to like talking about this because maybe I'll refresh. Get a refresher on it.
Yeah. So the past couple of weeks have been kind of rough for me too. The snow really kind of threw me off. Like, school was shut down for like, I don't know, 2 weeks or whatever it was. And I couldn't get to my office because the driveway was buried in snow and that's on a hill. And so I was at home, which is not usual for me. And with kids at home, which is not usual for me. And so I was like, ended up playing a lot of Splatoon and stuff. So I had to like get back on the focus train and like actually work on it. And so one thing that I did was the tomato technique, the 25-minute thing.
Pomodoro.
Yeah, Pomodoro. Yeah. So I'm like, because I would sit down and I'm like, okay, I get some work done, and I would open up the laptop and be like, I don't feel like doing anything. Like there's like 5,000 things I could do, and I don't feel like doing any of them. And so what it came down to, I was like, all right, you know what? I can't wait to feel like it. I just got to do it. And so I said, boom, set the timer for 25 minutes. I'm going to work on something. And then I can be done and give myself a break, And then, of course, the 25 minutes goes and I'm like heads down. I'm like, focused. And so there's no way I'm taking a break right now. So I keep working for a couple hours, right? But so that helped me like get over the hurdle of I really don't like doing a thing.
Nice. I tried doing the Pomodoro technique for a while, like a long time ago, and I liked it. Yeah, maybe I'll give it a try again sometime here.
I like it too. It only works for me for certain things. Like Pomodoro is really nice for me for things that where I've got like a list of things that I'm got to sort of cycle through really quickly and sort of churn through. It's not so great for things that are more sort of loosey-goosey, kind of like writing and stuff. I don't really like having a timer going when I'm writing because I just feel so sort of constrained by it. And like I've got this deadline looming over me, and it's like, be creative, come up with something interesting in
under the gun.
10 minutes.
How do you guys typically like start your days? Do you how do you think about like what you're going to do first or what you're going to do during the day?
I've recently, after we came back from Christmas break, I changed up my routine and I've really liked it. So let me tell you a little bit about that. previously, I just kind of started the day without like a plan or anything. I come into work, check my mail, check Slack, figure out what my main task was, just start going heads down on it and not really think about it much. And that's fine when it works. But, a lot of the times it left me feeling like while I was making progress on my main task, I was kind of losing sight of the big picture or maybe other tasks that are important, but aren't really as major. So what I started doing when we came back from break is that I started saying, well, I've got a 3-hour window of intense work time. I've got 3 hours, and I'm going to bookend that with an hour on each end of sort of less intense, more open-ended work time. And so what I've ended up doing is in the morning, I come in, I get my coffee, I open up Slack and everything, I say hi to everybody. And I have a journal now.
Oh, fancy! It's like leather.
It's a very nice,
it's not leather,
orange journal. Yeah.
Okay.
So so I've started work journaling. I actually read about work journaling on Hacker News. Some article. Somebody
cool.
had mentioned in the comments that they find it really useful. And I kind of like journaling anyway. Like I like getting my fountain pen and writing in cursive. It's just something very relaxing and fancy about it. It makes me happy. And usually every day I follow more or less the same format. It's really simple. I just kind of think, okay, well, what's important to me today? Like what's on my mind? What's coming up in the next couple of days? I write a small paragraph about it just to kind of clear away the cobwebs, get mentally unstuck. And then from that, I'll generally make a to-do list. And that will be my plan for the day. After that, I sort of slide into my sort of 3 hours intense work and then have an hour for email and random stuff like that. So I really like the system. Lately, I've been a little bit lax about it just because things have gotten thrown for a loop with our snow days, with some very sort of personal stuff that's come up that you can read all about on Twitter. But I really like the system. I want to get back to it, doing it more consistently.
I don't have a daily plan per se. I have a daily schedule. Like I said, I get up at 4. I do some meditation for a little bit. I read like maybe some RSS feeds or a book just to warm up the brain, and then I just dive into whatever I had going on the day before. I believe in this concept of starting on a downhill slope. Like I try to leave my previous day's work at a finish point, but also a point where it's easy to pick up again. Like, oh yeah, I'm just keep going on that task, right? And then
I like that.
That's a really useful concept.
So
I do that too sometimes.
Plan a day by day. It's just kind of rolling from one day to the next with that starting on the slope. But what I do to set that up is on Sunday nights, I actually spend time thinking about my week coming up. And so I make a plan. So I think about what are my areas of responsibility? So I have family things I need to get done. I have personal things I want to get done, like maybe clean up the yard or something. I have, church things I want to get done, and then work things I want to get done. So I look at those areas and I think about the upcoming week, like what are some tasks that need to get done and maybe some overall goals that I want to move forward on during that week.
Right.
So I make that list. And then out of that falls the things I do every day. Like, oh, today I feel like cleaning the yard, so I'm going to go do that and mark that off my list.
That came from a book of the different areas of responsibility in your life, like work, church, family. I forget. Do you recall anything about that? It might have been 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah, I love that book. So probably.
Yeah, I think it might have been Covey. But yeah, I like that too. I forgot about that. You reminded me of it. So I do something kind of similar to the thinking about. I like to think about stuff the night before, especially because a lot of times if I've got work running through my head and I don't get it out, I can't sleep, or it causes extra stress. So I actually like to just I keep a stack of index cards by my bed, and if I can't think of if I can't stop thinking about work or something, I'll just usually make a little very short to-do list, 3 to 5 items usually for the big things I want to do the next day, and then that's usually enough to kind of get it moved to tomorrow and I can relax again.
That happens to me too. So that's a good, I like that idea.
Yeah. I need to remember to, I should start doing the Sunday night planning though. Again, I used to do that kind of a little bit like you were describing, and I really liked it.
So my wife calls that the vague sense of anxiety before Monday that you get on Sunday night. She calls that the Sunday scaries. I don't know if she made that up or if
The Sunday scaries, nice.
yeah, which is funny because like I still get those, even though I don't think I can legally be fired, guys. I still get the Sunday scaries, and I don't know, maybe writing stuff down would sort of help with that.
Yeah. Do you guys ever feel like guilty if you're like not being, if you feel like you're not being productive enough, or you're not getting enough done, or you just don't feel like working? I know Ben is like always working, so he probably isn't affected or afflicted by this. But I don't know, sometimes.
Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's like half my life.
Okay.
Like you guys have no idea how much mental anguish I've like put myself through, being like, am I doing enough? Am I,
We've engineered this life of luxury and leisure that supposedly, but you can't really take the workaholic out of the
yeah, exactly.
Can't take the work out of the workaholic.
Yeah, it helps that I like to work, right? But still, there are times when, my daily schedule, I'm typically in the office from 9 to 2. I like to take off early and go do other stuff. But even then, it's taken me years of Honey Badger to get to a point where I'm comfortable just being done for the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice though. I like the direction we're going. Being able, not feeling bad about like not killing yourself.
It's silly to say this, but it came to me a couple of years ago as kind of an epiphany that I am not morally obligated to make the absolute most money possible in my lifetime. Like that's not a moral requirement. No. Like, like I have to, support my family. I've got to, try and be a good member of the community and everything. But if I don't want to like kill myself to make millions and millions of dollars, like that's fine. Like who cares?
I don't know, man. If I'm not Zuckerberg, I'm not happy personally. Like,
yeah, but you got to answer this question. If you were Zuckerberg, would you be happy? Because that's
existential. I think.
Sick burns. Yeah. that's sick burns coming from me.
I was going to tell you about one other cool like morning routine type thing that I picked up. I think it was like last year sometime. And actually, I think this was like a thing that Ben Orenstein, who's currently building Tuple, he like blogged about it and like a while back, and then posted about it on Twitter, and that's where I saw it. But he basically like keeps a bash. I think it's like a bash alias called Start on his work laptop. What it does is you like just type Start into your console or whatever, and it brings up a new Vim window that has like basically a little like agenda, like checklist for the day that helps you kind of like do the like routine things that help you kind of get started.
Every morning, it's kind of a pain in the neck to have to bring up all my programs, put them in the right windows. I use a tiling window manager, so everything's got to be like, in the right spot, or else I won't ever be able to find it.
You just have to commit your layouts to source control.
Oh God! See, I really enjoy a lot of the tools that people have for interacting with their computers as like power users and stuff. Right? I've got the tiling window manager. I use Linux and all that stuff, but really, I kind of get it to the point where it's good enough, and I never quite am able to make myself spend the time to get it to the point where it's just truly amazing and excellent.
You're on awesome, right? So I switched. As I was on like the hardest of the hard mode, window managers, Xmonad, for a long time. But recently I've started kind of like walking myself back from the edge of that. And I switched to i3 recently. And
how do you like that?
I really like it. It's like the exact opposite as far as like configuration management of the window, like of the window manager. It's basically just a flat single file that's like kind of declarative. So it's it's a little bit like YAML or something. So it's just like options versus like with Xmonad, you're actually kind of like building your desktop with Haskell, which is Yeah,
and the thing about Xmonad I found is that you're building it in Haskell, and all of the snippets that you find are all in like 20 different styles of Haskell. And if you don't know Haskell, who knows which one of those is right?
I'm not convinced anyone knows Haskell.
So Josh, a few months ago, you mentioned to me there's a book called it's called Weinberg on Writing. And in this book, he describes his method of writing. It's called the Fieldstone method. And if the listeners don't know Weinberg, I forget his first name.
I think it's Jerry Weinberg.
He's this sort of legendary computer author consultant guy back from a long time ago, from the 80s, I think, were his heyday. Mm-hmm. So he was flying all over the country doing really expensive consulting gigs for all these big companies on their mainframes. And he wrote a lot of different books. And he also wrote this book called Weinberg on Writing, where he describes how he writes. And how did you learn about that, Josh?
I think it had been on my list for a while. Like I've heard various people talk about it over the years and just never really got into it. But I think most recently my friend Joel had mentioned it to me because I've been trying to do more writing for our Honey Badger marketing material. And specifically, like I've been doing writing an email newsletter for developers. And so I've been kind of trying to come up with ways to write for that, come up with topics and kind of like organize my thinking.
So have you been doing it? Have you been using that particular method?
I have. I don't know if I've been doing it as efficiently or effectively as he would. But I've been trying anyway. It has been, it's really helped me write the last couple articles, I think, because with the method, the Fieldstone method is basically it uses the metaphor of a fieldstone wall. So if you're building a fieldstone wall, it's made up of all these individual, like very unique stones that people typically collect from fields. And so you can't build a fieldstone wall by like just stacking bricks one on top of the other. So the idea is that you, over time, you want to collect these things and eventually you'll have a wall. But until then, you're kind of like in collection mode.
So you're always kind of keeping an eye out for interesting things in the world. You're always writing little paragraphs about things and just kind of stuffing them away in some sort of system.
Yeah, and so I've been doing a lot of reading over the last couple of years. I mean, I've always loved reading, but I've been trying to like read a lot more than I even used to. And it's worked out really well if I'm reading, especially like a technical book or a book on programming or something. Recently read a couple books on DevOps that were really good. You can kind of like extract ideas as you're reading and just like throw them into wherever you keep your notes or whatever. And then you can come back to that stuff later. And oftentimes like you'll have a good writing prompt for, maybe something related to a topic that you're writing about.
Well, I've been doing it too, right? I've got, so at Honey Badger, we use Notion for sort of internal documents and wikis, and I set up my own personal Notion account that's just all about these fieldstones, right? These different little snippets that you collect here and there. And I made it my own personal account because some of it doesn't really have much to do with the business. I don't want you guys to be able to steal that from me. And
right.
Like I'll be reading a technical book. Like recently I've been reading Building Data Intensive Applications. And it's pretty cool because you see something that's like, oh, that would be a great blog post. So you just pop open the app and take a picture of the page or whatever. Mm-hmm. And there you go. Now you've got something to write or something to talk about in a blog post, or maybe it's an idea for a blog post. Personally, I've found that collecting these little notes and snippets of writing, like it's useful for constructing the actual blog posts, but it's even more useful for coming up with ideas, because my main problem in writing has always been not necessarily doing the writing, but coming up with ideas for things to write about that I can do without, having to spend 5 days researching it.
Because if you're writing like a full blog post or article or something, or even a book, it's made up of a bunch of different concepts that kind of come together to illustrate whatever point you're trying to make. At least that's what I found. And so like coming up with those individual, like what are the best tools that you're using basically to like get the idea across it helps if you have like, if you can quote something interesting from a book or something versus just like coming up with something on the fly.
One thing that I struggled with for a long time was that I kept thinking, well, I just don't have ideas, right? It turns out that's false. I have plenty of ideas. Like I'm constantly doing stuff. I'm constantly doing work for Honey Badger and thinking, oh, this is interesting. This new thing I learned is interesting. Or, oh, I learned some lesson from this mistake I made or whatever. And that stuff is constantly happening to all of us. The only thing is that, well, normally that might happen to you. You might think, well, I need to write a blog post about it, but that's a big thing. I'll deal with that later. And then you just forget it because you're constantly being bombarded with all these little sort of interesting things that are happening.
Mm-hmm.
But if you say, well, I'll just write 2 sentences about it or a paragraph and throw that into my my Notion setup and not worry about it. And then so later on, I can go back and access that and be like, oh yeah, that was really a good idea for a blog post or whatever.
Yeah. I think my favorite takeaway from that book, I mean, the method is great. But the way it changed my thinking about writing is that it kind of demystified the idea of like writing as a, as like you have to write this finalized, like, piece, like you're an artist creating some sort of work that has to be, it's like a super creative process that that inspiration has to strike basically, and then you write, and a lot of times that's where like writer's block will set in, and then people think like, well, I've got writer's block, I just can't write. With the Fieldstone method, it's much more about doing the work and even like just making writing something where you don't necessarily have to write like, a complete, you don't have to write a novel in order to write. You could just write a little, a couple paragraphs, like you said, on something like a little interesting idea that you got from a book you were reading. And even that in itself might just be a fun exercise, or maybe that'll go into one of, an article or something that you're writing that will actually get published somewhere.
Yeah. And I think the key takeaway is that while yes, writing is a creative activity, it's very difficult to sit down and be creative on demand. But,
yeah.
If you are just living your life doing interesting things, you have these little moments of creativity. And if you can capture those when they happen, well, then you're ahead of the game.
Yeah, totally.
So how did you find out about Notion, Josh? I remember like a while ago, you came to us and you said, I want to use this new note-taking app. Mm-hmm. And I'm a grumpy old man. So I don't think I really said this out loud, but in my head, I'm like, oh, geez, another note-taking app.
Darn kids.
Like, why are you getting in my face about this?
Yeah.
Like, haven't we figured out note-taking by now? But it's actually really nice. I'm now a complete convert. I've got the app on my phone. I use it all the time.
Well, I mean, like I think I would normally call myself a grumpy old man too. I might just be a little bit behind where you are, but it did take me a little while to get used to kind of like see the value in it. But once I did, it's a really, really cool tool. And I forget where I saw it. I mean, it had launched semi recently. And I think a lot of people were talking about it. Like a lot of people have been switching to it. And even I think there's a few competitors out now, but basically like it kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of like a new take on like collaborative note taking / like company wiki. It's a bunch of different things rolled into one. It lets you create like databases. But in it, like essentially it's all built out of, like just pages of content. And the thing I like about it is that it makes it really easy just to like anywhere you are in it, you can just start writing. And it's kind of like captured there. So it doesn't make writing feel like this daunting task where you have to get all set up and, whatever, get your word processor out and do writing. Like if you have an idea, you can just like throw it into Notion and then organize it either then or later.
Yeah. And one cool thing about everything being a document is that, for example, we have our editorial calendar in Notion, which is it's an actual calendar with things on it, but it's also, there's a view of it where you can view it as a Kanban board. Mm-hmm. And so what you can do is you've got these items, which are sort of like things to write or things that are written. And you can just pop open the item, and because everything is a document, everything is equally editable and all this stuff, you can just write the actual article in the to-do item.
Mm-hmm.
So that there's no, I wrote the article, it's over here. Now I've got to go update my, to-do list. I've got to update the editorial calendar. It's just all there. And like that just kind of blew my mind when I first saw it. That was when I was originally like, well, there's something pretty cool going on here.
Yeah, the editorial calendar was the thing that converted me too, because I've been trying to set up a good process for that for a while now, and I've tried a bunch of different tools, and nothing actually allowed me to actually produce the content in the same tool that I was managing the schedule in. And when that's all in one place, it seems to be it's a very streamlined process, and it actually helps. I don't know about you, but it's actually helped me get more actual content done, because I don't know, for some reason, it just makes it really easy to sit down and work on something.
Yeah, totally. It just, I don't really know how to describe it, because we're saying like, well, it's a wiki, it's document editing, and all that sounds kind of weak sauce. But then when you see it all put together, just the way they've done it is so nice. It makes it makes things feel way easier to do than, say, back when I used to use Evernote. It was just kind of a struggle. You felt like you're sort of fighting against things. But I don't know. I guess maybe that's why people hire like good user interface designers. Yeah,
something like that. I'm curious, Ben. How would you describe Notion?
Yeah, to me, it's a collaborative content editing solution. That's pretty vague in general, I guess, but that's why I found it be useful for us. I think it's like this morning, it was really neat. I was chatting with Ben Finley. We were talking about some marketing related stuff that we wanted to do, and he gave me a couple of things he wanted me to do. So I just opened up Notion. I went to my to-do Kanban board. I created a new item, and that was writing some content. And then in that item, I just created a to-do list. Like, here are the things that I need to do to be able to finish off this item. And then like one of those to-do items was something I needed from Ben. So I assigned that, I sent an ad to Ben, like, here, I need this from you. And so we were able to collaborate on that. So now it's on my to-do list. I'm not gonna forget about it. I have a list of things in that item to track. And then as I'm filling in those items, I'll just write it right there in the page. So to me, it's like a very collaborative environment focused on generating content and getting things done. I like it.
Cool.
Yeah, we've run into a couple problems though with it around, not really problems, but just I think we were using it for things it wasn't designed to do really.
Oh, like team communication.
Yeah, like it's not really built for. It's built for editing documents and editing content. I mean, and also sort of keeping track of things like to-do lists and stuff. But it's not really built for. It's not like a message board, right?
One of the things that we've used Basecamp for a long time too, and one of the things that we really liked about Basecamp being a remote team is that if we have an idea for something we want to build, or if we have something we want to change, we like write a proposal, basically like, here's an idea that I had or a thing that I want to do, and let me describe it in a couple paragraphs, and then notify everybody so that everyone can come back and comment on it and give me their feedback, and then I can decide how I want to proceed on this thing. Like, we use that. I think that was our primary use case for Basecamp. And helps us, keep track of decisions that we make and make informed decisions with all the team's input and have a good place to keep it all, rather than Slack where stuff just gets lost, right? And I think we wanted to use Notion in that kind of way too, but it didn't work out so well. One of the things being like it's kind of hard to follow a conversation, and two, the notification is just much weaker than Basecamp was in that regard.
Yeah.
Like the cool thing about Notion is that you have these documents, you have to-do items and all these things, and you can actually sort of put them wherever you want. Like you can make, like Ben was talking about, you can make a document that contains to-do items assigned to somebody else, but it's not like there's a place called to-dos. And so it's this very moldable thing, but as a result of that, it's kind of difficult it makes it a little bit harder to discover new content because it could be kind of anywhere in there.
Right. Yep. I like to keep a track of what's going on across the team by seeing what everyone is doing. Like, what is the blog post that Star just wrote, and what is the marketing experiment that Josh just did, right? And like when we're using Basecamp, you could log those things, you could write those things, and everyone gets notified. And so, as every day I could check my email and say, oh, here's the things that people are working on, the to-dos they knocked off, and Notion doesn't have that, and so I felt kind of lost because it's like, oh, what are people doing? So I think. We're trying Geekbot right now in Slack.
Yeah, I love Geekbot so far.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Have that daily check-in, and I feel better. I guess maybe it's the.
So what does Geekbot do?
It just asks us every day. It's like a daily stand-up, right? Since we're a remote team, we don't actually have daily stand-ups because we're not in the same office. But Geekbot will ask you questions that you can configure. So we have hours set up every day to ask us, what did you do since yesterday? And what are you planning on doing today? And is there anything blocking your progress? And then all those answers show up in our channel in Slack so that we can see, Josh migrated to blog yesterday. That was cool.
Mm-hmm. I did discover one critical flaw in Geekbot the other day, though, is that when you answer a question with memes, it doesn't actually display those in the Slack channel. It just shows you a link.
Yeah, that's messed up.
Disappointing. Like I want to be able to answer, are you blocked by anything, with a funny meme, right?
Yeah.
Because this is who I am, people.
We'll get that fixed. We'll get that worked out, Star, at some point, I'm sure.
That's good.
Because I know there's other people that you cannot be the only one that is very upset about that issue.
It's like in modern day collaboration apps, you have to support a few key features. And one of them is emoji. That's like number one.
Yeah.
Right? Number two is probably like app mentions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then a close three, I think, would be meme support for sure.
Yeah,
definitely. Man, they should even, I think I would pay extra for that if there was a little Gifly search bar like there is in Twitter.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, actually you can, there is we can add the Jiffy. There's a Jiffy / command that you can add. So,
well, I feel like I'm going to be much more productive next week now that I've gotten these awesome tips from you guys.
Yeah, same here.
I mean, not so much. I'm just going to slack off.
You've built up enough credit, Ben. You built up some credit.
I think we've done a pretty good amount of work just right now. We can take a break now, right?
You just call it
it's Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what time is it?
Take the day off.
It's almost noon.
It's lunchtime.
Yeah.
Just quit. Yeah.
All right.
Nice.
Peace. Well, bye, guys.
Later.
FounderQuest is a weekly podcast by the founders of Honey Badger. Zero instrumentation, 360-degree coverage of errors, outages, and service degradations for your web apps. If you have a web app, you need it. Available at honeybadger.io. Want more from the founders? Go to FounderQuestPodcast.com. That's one word. You can access our huge back catalog or sign up for our newsletter to get exclusive VIP content. FounderQuest is available on iTunes, Spotify, and other purveyors of fine podcasts. We'll see you next week.